Countdown to Easter, Day 8, Wednesday. Debates in the Temple. Yesterday, the authorities' attempt to challenge Jesus' actions in occupying the outer court of the temple failed. So today they decided to have another attempt to take this radical new rabbi down a peg or two. Yeshua and his trainees got to the temple during the prayers after the morning sacrifice. After the blessing, he made his way to Solomon's portico and started talking to the crowd that instantly gathered in front around him. After a while, there was a stir in the crowd as an impressive group of temple aristocrats made their way towards Yeshua, their lavishly embroidered coats and turbans making a striking contrast with a simple brown cloak worn by Yeshua. The crowd settled into a resentful silence. "Rabbi, we have a case which we would like your opinion on," said the leading temple aristocrat. "Go on," said Yeshua. "Well, in the Torah, Moshe laid down this rule. When brothers reside together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in to her, taking her in marriage and performing the duty of a husband's brother to her. And the firstborn whom she bears shall succeed to the name of the deceased brother, so that his name may not be blotted out of Israel. Now, just this happened among us. There were 7 brothers, and the eldest married a woman, but he died before she could conceive. Then the second brother married the woman, and he died before she conceived. Then the third brother married her, but he died too before anything happened." "Sounds like to boy Sarah. Just something happened to her," shouted a man in the crowd. The temple aristocrat smiled condescendingly. "Quite so. The 4th brother's funeral was just a few days after the wedding. The 5th brother lasted longer, but again the woman had no children to carry on the family name. The 6th brother fared no better. And the 7th, the supposedly lucky 7th, he also perished without any children. And in the end, the woman herself died. About time too. Worn out, was she?" A guffaw of laughter came from the back of the crowd. "Now, Rabbi, your judgment, please. In this so-called resurrection, which you and the Hasidim believe in so devoutly, whose wife shall she be? All 7 of the brothers had her." A buzz of hilarity and curiosity issued from the crowd. Yeshua's face showed not a hint of humour. "Isn't this why you aristocrats go so wrong? You think you revere the Torah, you haven't even begun to understand it. You've no clue about either the readings or the power of God, the power of Allah. When men and women rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage. They are like the messengers whom Allah sends out, spiritual beings in the life beyond. And as for the dead being raised, haven't you even read the Torah itself? How in the passage about the burning bush, Allah, God, says to him, 'I am Elohim of Abraham, God of Abraham, and Elohim of Yitzhak, and Elohim of Yaakov.' It's not Elohim of the dead, but of the living. You're quite wrong." The crowd burst into applause. Temple aristocrats grimaced, then angrily shouldered their way out of the crowd. One muttered, "You see, just another of these new-fangled rabble-rousers. No learning, no respect for tradition." A Torah teacher, scribe, in the crowd, easily identified by his long-sleeved tunic and black cloak, pushed his way forward. "Rabbi, I've heard your discussion with our friends of temple aristocrats. May I be permitted to put a question to you?" "Surely." "Well, what then is the first commandment in all the Torah? How do you read it?" Yeshua stood straight up with his arms outstretched and recited, "The first commandment is Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. And you shall love Adonai Eloheinu with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is this: you shall love your neighbour as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. The Torah teacher bowed his head respectfully and replied, Amen, Rabbi, you're right. You truly said that Elohim is one, and beside him there is no other. And to love him with all the heart and with all the understanding, with all the strength, and to love one's neighbour as oneself, well, that's much more important than all these whole burnt offerings and sacrifices. Yeshua looked steadily at him, and a warm smile spread over his face. A wise response. You're not far from Allah's kingly rule. He looks round the crowd, which have become very still. Anyone else got a question? No? Then let's turn to our prayers. Followed by his trainees, Yeshua made his way across the outer court, through the beautiful gate and the court of women, into the court of Israel, where he stood for a long time, his hands raised in prayer. The reading is from my book, Jesus the Troublemaker, which you can get from my website, bibleinbrief.org, or from Amazon. Tomorrow, we're going to start by looking at Jesus' last day in the temple on Thursday. And then in the evening, we'll think about the last meal he had with his disciples. Everything comes to crescendo in these next 48 hours. God bless.